Hi, I'm Ophi. I don't spend enough time outside, so I'm trying something new today. I don't think this is going to last for the whole video, so don't be surprised if you see me be an indoor cat again in a few minutes. Like me in this video, the Emma approved revival in 2018 takes us outside. We can see right away that this is going to be a different setup than we're used to, starting off with the initial teaser announcement that they're coming back. Emma and Knightley discuss that there's an exciting new development with the company Emma approved, and that this is the 5-year anniversary of the original documentary coming out, which means that we are still trying to play with the whole in-world, out-of-world thing that they struggled so much with at the beginning, but okay.
Stop! He's already dead!
For now, I'm going to leave the original series where it lies, so I want to talk about things that I do like about this.
I mean, I guess there is a small piece of information which you guys might find kind of, I don't know, interesting. Should we tell them together?
Yeah.
And just right off the bat, the acting feels way better. I don't know if it's just that the camera setup and the office of Emma Approved wasn't conducive to me suspending my disbelief. Joanna hasn't fundamentally changed anything about the way that she's performing Emma.
On the count of 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're coming back! Yay!
I didn't get to 3.
3!
Emma Approved is actually going public, which means you can help steer the direction that the company goes in by buying shares on Patreon.
This whole taking Emma Approved public thing is actually a scheme. Scheme sounds mean, but if you've seen my video on Bernie Sue, you know why I use that word, I bet. The Emma Approved reboot is about 5 episodes long. There are a few pieces of bonus content, but as far as actual episodes go, I assume that this was filmed in one day, and maybe on the same day as the teaser was filmed. I'm not positive. So this that we're analyzing here, this that I think is better than the whole of the original run, is a commercial for something that never got to come out.
And be sure to tell your friends, because the more members we have and the more people that watch, the longer this documentary can go on.
It is a hostage tape for more of a show that is going to be released if we only get enough Patreons, and then the Patreons didn't come. And though I'm not continuing to criticize the Emma Approved show, I did find a document that compiled a bunch of complaints from fans as it was airing. I'm going to link that in the description. You should definitely take a look at it. At one point, Bernie Sue had responded to all of these, but I couldn't find that because he's since deleted that one from his Google Docs. But the complaints themselves still exist and are still helpful to read through. The money from the Kickstarter not going to the cast and crew wasn't the first thing that people really had an issue with here. I hope this wind isn't messing with my audio. Emma Approved was put up on iTunes as it was airing on YouTube, apparently, and without something in the description saying, hey, this is a show that's free on YouTube. That's something that struck fans the wrong way, which I completely understand. And also, this post from Bernie Sue's Tumblr where he had to explain 5 episodes in how the conceit of his show works, that's just not great. And it's really easily solved here, because while I still really don't understand the initial Emma Approved documentary, I understand the second one.
This is different.
It's not just about Emma anymore.
I hate it.
There's an entire documentary crew here, though they are not members of the cast, and they're here to see what's going on in the day-to-day life of Emma and Knightley and Harriet and their IT guy, Bobby Martin. I don't fully understand why an operation this small would still have a dedicated IT guy, but I like Bobby Martin, and I'm cool with that. They've recently had to downsize from offices to working from home, and that's where this is set. In addition to those financial issues leading to them downsizing into the home apartment, Emma is upset because she's recently had a wedding that she planned to fall through. I mentioned in my first video about Emma Approved that she has to kind of regress so that we can start the story over. This is that regression that I'm talking about.
Dear Anne Elliot, I, Emma Woodhouse, vow to dedicate my life to see to it that you and Mr. Wentworth are happily married. You'll regret it for the rest of your life if you do not go through with this.
This is a really clever piece of adaptation, and I am stoked to finally get to say that about Emma Approved. This all plays out in the background, and not just the way a lot of the other background things in these shows do. This is something that we never actually get to see any payoff for, and I honestly kind of don't mind it. The characters that she's referring to are characters that Austen fans will recognize from Jane Austen's final novel, Persuasion. In Persuasion, the two main characters are set to be married, and then they break up and don't meet up again until like 8 years later, so this works out perfect for me. Okay, it's getting cold and a little dark. Also, somebody came into the parking lot, which is totally fine, but did make me feel a little self-conscious. You might recognize that out of context shot that was used for Persuasion 2020, where it kind of looks like she's femdoming the guy. Since Persuasion is so much about estrangement and coming back together and having changed while you were apart in a way that makes you into the people the other person needs to be with, it makes total sense for this to be something that happens off screen. It feels clever in a way that I am very happy to feel when I'm watching this. So Emma regresses and wants to try to coerce the bride to not be into going through with the wedding, even though we know that in order for Persuasion to happen, she's not going to go through with the wedding. Supportive Knightley suggests that a new client will be just the thing to get Emma back on track. And that new client is Ricky Collins. I said before in my Lizzie Bennet Diaries video how much I love Max Vogelic's performance of Ricky Collins, and I'll say it again here. It's fun to watch. It's really fun to have him come back. It's exciting to see what little bits of lore he drops about the fiancé relationship ending, even though we don't get to know why that is, and I'm dying to. Mr. Collins spinoff, when? We learned that he has recently left his company. Charlotte Liu will now be taking it over. That's fun to think about. Charlotte had already gotten control over the Florida headquarters of Collins & Collins, so this is a natural progression, and also good for you, Charlotte. You keep girl bossing. While he's there for Emma to try to help him find his life's new direction, something he's not sure whether or not that's going to be a job, or, as he hopes, that she might be able to help with his love life the way that she used to when she was a matchmaker. He thinks this because he's been talking to B-Mart.
B-Mart. Ah, B-Mart. Any relation to the founders of the distinguished chain of department stores, Kmart?
And B-Mart mentioned that Emma is the one who set him and Harriet up, though in a roundabout way. Although he and Harriet have recently broken up. I get the motivation for this, and if you're going to split one half of your two characters up, I see why you would choose Harriet and B-Mart and not Emma and Knightley. But I do kind of wish, especially given that we get no resolution to either this or Emma's character regression, that we had been able to just commit to having everybody together. Maybe show me a breakup as it happens, but coming back and trying to shock me with it, it was a little bit disappointing, but only because I know that it doesn't get to resolve. If this was a show that had time to tell me the whole story, I'm sure it would have been really cute. It came out over the course of a few weeks, but all of it has this very distinct feel of keep paying us so we can keep going, which kind of comes with the territory when you're crowdfunding something that you're making. I think switching to a 2-camera format and letting one of the cameras actually follow Emma around is great. It does so much for the show. It makes her feel more complete as a person and as a character when we're not only seeing her from the shoulders up. I feel more convinced, having watched these 5 episodes of what could have been from the Emma Approved revival, that Emma Approved did have good bones. I think that if the way that the passionate people who worked on the Lizzie Bennet Diaries were able to express that passion the first time around also came through in Emma Approved, we would have seen a complete difference in how it was responded to. I already said that I thought that the fan interaction felt a lot worse following Lizzie Bennet Diaries, but I hadn't really delved into Welcome to Sanditon, which is a bridge series that I've mentioned before. This is outlined in that Google Doc linked in the description, but Welcome to Sanditon really encouraged fan response. This was back in the day of video responses being a thing on YouTube, and I mean that in the site infrastructure way, and not in the video essayists making videos about each other kind of back and forth way that we now think about video responses. Welcome to Sanditon would upload twice a week with their own generated content, and once a week it would be a fan-generated thing. That's something that wasn't present in Emma Approved, and the Q&As were a weird conciliatory, like, you can interact with the characters, but why do they know about you? What does that say about Knightley being surprised at the end of Emma Approved that people had been watching the documentaries? Are we the people who have been watching the documentaries, or is it somebody else? None of that works as well as it does in Lizzie Bennet Diaries. The loss of that transmedia element and the sense of connection with the main character isn't just something that I felt. And I'm glad to see that written down somewhere 11 years after the fact. I tried to look for more criticisms on Tumblr, but the Emma Approved tag seems to have been inactive for so long that I wasn't having very much luck. It's cool how things have been documented, and I don't want them to fall away completely. Overall, even if the Emma Approved revival doesn't add much in terms of lore or storyline, other than us seeing Mr. Collins become a tour guide, we do get to see enough that it improves my overall feelings towards the series. My appreciation of the actors who are able to convey these characters even after taking 5 years off. I wish that we had gotten to see more, and I hope that we get to see more things like this in the future, but I hope that they get to be made by people who are passionate and creative and not by people who are doing it as extended promotion for a Patreon, maybe. And I don't think there's anything bad with plugging ways that people can support you in your work, but when we know that the people who are plugging haven't been necessarily forthcoming with what they were doing with their money in the past, it makes that ask itself harder to get behind. Even if you didn't particularly love Emma Approved, I would actually suggest watching the reboot. The documentary aspect of it gives it the same kind of feeling as something like Parks and Rec or The Office. I'm not saying that it's on the same level, but in terms of something from YouTube, I've never seen something that had so much of a sitcom feel. I really liked it. Maybe you'll like it too. That's it. If there are other Jane Austen adaptations you would like to hear me talk about, I would love to hear about them in the comments below. And here's why I didn't want to be a hypocrite earlier when I was talking about the Patreon thing. You can support me on Ko-fi as well in the description below. That would just be a one-time donation towards me. I might set up a Patreon someday, but for now that's the best way to support me if you see my videos and want to financially support me. But really the best way to support me in making these videos is to watch them. I really appreciate you watching the video. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you have other Austen adaptations you would like me to talk about, if you have other aspects of these Austen adaptations I've already covered that you'd like to hear me talk about, I'm all ears. These videos are really, really fun to make, and it's even more fun with people commenting back and telling me how much they enjoyed looking back at the Lizzie Bennet Diaries with me. I'd love to do more stuff like that, so if you have anything in mind you'd love to see from me, let me know. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good rest of your day. If Bernie Sue asks you for money, don't give it to him.